You know the story of what happened here now. You got this. The last remnant of Israel after the fall of Jerusalem, as I'm going to recap what Ronnie said, that once Jerusalem fell, this is now the Roman Empire. This is now a Roman province. The people live here are subjects of Rome, and suddenly they learn of a group of zealot Jews who are known as the Sicarii, or you might have heard of the term Sicario. That's where it comes from. They're a cut, slash, and run group of Jewish terrorists who live up here. They will kill anyone who they even thinks is collaborating with a Roman. That's the nature of these people up here. They are tough people, and they're extreme nationalists. It's a mixture of people. It's not just a whole bunch of vague, zealots. They're from all walks. They're priests and Essenes, and they're patriots of all different sorts, people from all different backgrounds. And they live up here because they have a virtual unlimited supply of food, dried food in those warehouses that could last 100 years for a full army. And they're not a full army, they're 967. They have enough water here and water catch systems that were designed by King Herod the Great that with about a half an inch of rain a year, they're able to go with a 1.2 million cubic feet of water in the cisterns on this building. So they're never going to run out, and the systems are built to catch every drop of rain that ever falls on this place and preserve it. It's an amazing place. They're up here, and then Rome learns about it. That's why they send 20,000 guys down here to surround the camp. And you know the story as Ronnie explained it to you, that they begin to break through that wall. Now, on the night that the Jews here, the Sicarii and everybody that was with them, families, women, children, learned that this is it. They're going to come through. There's no way we can keep the Romans out tomorrow when they come through. We can either fight them off, give them the best last stand we can and be killed to the last man, woman, and child, children, wives abused, whatever, or we can all die. And of course they did the whole thing where the men went home. They were taught by a kosher butcher how to kill their own wives and children, and then they came back. 10 men killed them. The men wrote their names on the estruca, the little broken pieces of pottery, and then they drew a lot for one man to kill the other 10, and he's the one who fell on his own sword. In the movie, it's a very interesting thing. It's a Hollywood screenwriter's version. This isn't in Josephus, but it's a great statement that when Peter O'Toole, Flavius Silva, the general, walks up that ramp and comes through, and the Romans are going around and they say, we found all these dead bodies laying around, and they're all neatly set out. They're not just laying around like they all killed each other. And as he comes in, they built this pile of what's left of the weapons and a sort of a monument to their victory. And one of the centurions comes up and says, sir, we have this great monument to our victory. And he said, victory? What victory? What do we want except the top of a rock in a wasteland and the shores of a poisoned sea? That's Masada. But there's something else. It's a theory. The circumstantial evidence is powerful. So it's maybe, you put the pieces together and this must be what happened. This room right here, it used to be, is like a closet. This is the Ark. Now this is completely rebuilt. I don't know if he's in there today, but there's a scribe in there. And there's a gentleman, an Orthodox Jew, and he scribes Torah scrolls, and he's in here. I don't know if he's in here today. But this used to be where they kept the Torah scrolls. And when Yigal Yadin was excavating this in the second season of excavations up here in 1968, he was looking for a thing called the Genitza. A Genitza is a little storage room that's usually underground under the Ark, so that when a scroll becomes so damaged just because of use or somehow gets damaged, that they don't just throw it in the trash. You get those paper Bibles that wear out, and what do you do with them? Well, I guess I'll throw it away. Now, this is the Word of God. They're not going to do that. So even if they're in a very badly damaged condition, they store them in this little box, this little opening called the Genitza. And he was looking for this because if you find a Genitza, you're at least probably going to find some sort of a Torah scroll, a Dead Sea Scroll. He's looking for this. And of course, they did find some all around here. They found a divorce paper and all of this sort of thing, but he found the Genitza. And when he found it, he found two things in it. A very, very badly degraded copy of part of Deuteronomy, a fragment of Deuteronomy that's just in pieces, like a leaf all crumpled. It's a mess. But then he found something else that is very interesting. I've seen the scroll, the real one. It was on display in, of all places, Grand Rapids, Michigan, temporarily. The scroll that they found in here was not rolled up. And by the way, scrolls are, you think of their big Torah scrolls like this, most scrolls are about like that, little bitty things, they're little short things. And they're usually around a little spool, or maybe a couple of spools. This one has no spool, and it's laid out flat with the text facing upward. You never do that. You never store a Torah scroll or any sort of a biblical scroll in that fashion. He finds it flat and facing up underneath all the debris. And they get real excited about it. And then they start thinking, who put it there and put it there in that fashion, and why did they put it there in that fashion? And then they read the scroll. And then they started to think, we think we know what happened. That Ben Yair gives his famous speech, which is obviously an embellishment. There were survivors to Masada, 2 women and some children, that were hiding in a cistern, and they heard all of this. They told Josephus in an interview, he writes it down, but obviously they don't have photographic memories and they can't read or write, so he embellishes it, but he gets the gist of the speech, the sort of give me liberty or give me death speech, and they took death. And it's supposed at this point, and probably accurate, that a priest or somebody who had access to this scroll knew we're all going to die. And when we do, all of Israel, all of the nation of Israel has now been reduced to the top of this rock. This is the sum total of Israel now. Everything else is gone. And when we fall, Israel is gone. But they also knew God's promises, that he wouldn't be gone, we wouldn't be gone forever. That Israel is coming back, because it was prophesied that they would. So on this night of, well, we want to defeat the Romans by our deaths, it was a night of hopelessness that God's promise has failed. They didn't believe that. Maybe some did, but someone didn't. So they found the scroll, they opened it up, and they laid it flat in the Genitza under this room right here, facing up, not to send a message through time, but to remind God, who would look down and read it, you promised. I want to read to you God's greatest miracle. I'll tell you where it is in a minute. This is what the prophet said. This is what was on that scroll, facing up so that God could read it. The hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord, and he set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. He led me back and forth among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry. He asked me, Son of man, can these bones live? I said, O sovereign Lord, you alone know. Then he said to me, prophesy to these bones, and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones. I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you, and make flesh come on you, and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life, and then you will know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound. And the bones came together, bone to bone. And I looked, and tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them. But there was no breath in them. And then he said to me, prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, Son of Man, and say to it, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Come from the 4 winds, O breath, and breathe into these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath entered them, and they came to life, and stood up on their feet, a vast army. And then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. They said, our bones are dried up, our hope is gone, we are cut off. Therefore prophesy, and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. O my people, I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel. And then you, my people, will know that I am the Lord. when I open your graves and bring you up from them. I will put my spirit in you, and you will live, and I will settle you in your own land. And then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken, and I have done it, declares the Lord. That night, Israel died. You are now sitting in Israel. Greatest miracle of the Bible, and you're sitting as close to the epicenter of it as you could get, because Israel ended here. Israel is back, and now you're here.
Hallelujah.
I love it.